The teaching text today is Proverbs 4:1-8 and 11:30. Listen, my sons, to a father's instruction. Pay attention and gain understanding. I give you learning, so do not forsake my teaching. For I too was a son to a father, still tender and cherished by my mother. Then he taught me, and he said to me, take hold of my words with all your heart. Keep my commands, and you will live. Get wisdom, get understanding, and do not forget my words or turn away from them. Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom. Though it costs all you have, get understanding. Cherish her, and she will exalt you. Embrace her, and she will honor you. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he who wins souls is wise. This is the word of the Lord. You may be seated.
Hearing God's word through the lens of and heart of a child hits different, doesn't it? One of the first places my wife and I lived, when we had been married very long, we built a home. I don't even want to tell you what we paid to build the home, other than to say I wish we still owned it, because we could sell it for 5 times the value today. It was so incredible. In retrospect, it's like, what? We got a home for that? And because it was a kind of a starter home, I took it upon myself to make it more than a starter home, and so did projects on the inside. And but one of the things I really wanted to do was make it beautiful on the outside. You know, you pull up to someone's home and they've got all this landscaping, and you go, oh, I want my house to look like that. And so I took it upon myself to do that. And so along the side of the house, I created a space where you could put the trash cans and with some bricks, and built it up, and I put a little bed. And then I really hadn't done a lot of planting. Some of you have the green thumb, but I did not have the green thumb. And so I put a rose bush in on the side of the house. Now, I didn't understand something about roses. Those of you that have a green thumb, you know that if you don't have something for the rose to grow up, what happens to the rose? Oh, it's a very disappointing rose. And so what I realized quickly when I came around the corner and it had grown and the rose petals were laying on the ground, is I realized that what that rose needed in order to grow up and express its full beauty was that it needed a trellis. You know, it needed something that it could grow up. Here's why I'm telling you this story. Everyone needs a framework, a trellis, if you will, for life and flourishing. Think about your life. Your life is a rose, and it needs a trellis. I'm going to try and talk you into picking a specific trellis. If you don't want that one, you don't have to have that one. I will tell you, though, if you don't pick a trellis, a framework, one will be handed to you by default, and you might not like the results you get from it. And without having a trellis, what happens is the beauty of your life, the rose of your life, lays on the ground, and the best you can do is hope that you don't get stepped on. Are you with me so far? There are a few versions that are offered to us. I've got some names for them. These are names that I made up to describe them, but I'm going to call them these different things here. There's what I would call the optimization trellis. The optimization trellis might be characterized by someone like Andrew Huberman, if you subscribe to his podcast, one of the leading podcasts in the world. He is all about optimize your sleep, optimize your body, optimize your nutrition, and everything about it is you got to optimize your life. You want to flourish, you got to optimize. Then there, what I'm going to call it the unearthed trellis. I almost call this the archaeological trellis, but it's the idea that you're going to dig into your psyche and your emotions and your upbringing. And I'm not saying there's not value in that, but you're going to try and figure out, where did I come from? What makes sense? What are the right values? This might be characterized by someone like Jordan Peterson. Or you could call it the iteration trellis, which is you're going to do all these different models. Joe Rogan, his podcast might be an example of the iteration trellis. You're going to get a little bit better. You're going to do this iteration and then that iteration, and that's how you'll make your life flourish. Or you could go with the domination trellis. The domination trellis is what the right and the left are doing to each other. No, I'm in charge. No, I'm in charge. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. There's then the sales trellis, and that takes all kinds of forms. The sales trellis is, what I mean by that is you're turning yourself into the product. And you can sell yourself online. You can sell yourself online for pleasure, or you can sell yourself online for attention. That's a massive trellis that a lot of people think that's the thing I need to erect over my life is a sales trellis. Or then there's the identity trellis. When the identity trellis is I'm going to say, well, I get to pick who I am, and I get to define myself and my identity because it's what I picked and what I chose. And then you walk your way into what I'm going to call a performative identity, where you have to keep up the performance, the goal being that you would get everyone's approval, and it's kind of a wash, rinse, and repeat. It's exhausting. I want to suggest, if you see these trellises existing in our world today, that they're kind of like a treadmill. You never get off of that trellis. You're always going. You never finish. You never arrive anywhere. So I want to give you a different trellis. It's an ancient trellis. This is it's in the Bible, but not even unique to the Bible. For centuries, this was the trellis that was almost always offered to human beings. Here's the trellis you need to build your life on, and I'm going to call it the wisdom trellis. The wisdom trellis. The book of Proverbs that Claire read from is a manual. If you are not familiar with Proverbs, it's in the Old Testament. It's a manual that was used for young adults to learn to become wise. And if you read the Proverbs, you find repeated in there this phrase, my son, my daughter, my son, my child, listen, listen, listen. And what that means is that it's a communique from the scriptures to parents to say to parents, listen. It is up to you and I as parents to instill the right trellis into our kids, a wisdom trellis into their life and into their heart. Can I pause, time out, talk to parents for just a second? Because I'm in the middle of it. I'm not so certain that sports will put that trellis into your kid. Now, my kids play sports. I'm not against sports. I'm not anti-sports. But, it's a very common thing for parents to pay a lot of money when their kids are small and play nothing but sports over and over and over again. And I think the hope, I'm trying to be charitable here, I think the hope is, well, if I put them in this discipline, this will shape them. It will certainly shape them. I'm not saying that. But I'm telling you right now, softball or volleyball or soccer or basketball is not going to put wisdom into your kid. I know that's what you want. It's not going to do it. Academics are not going to do it. I want my kids to be bright. I want them to learn. I want them to get A's. I want all of the things. I don't want to have to pay for college because they get A's, right? Are you with me? But it's not, academics is not going to put that wisdom trellis into your kid. You can't farm it out to somebody else. You and I must do that. We have to look our kids in the eyes and reach into our own heart and reach into the heart of God and then say to them, my son, my daughter, here is how you become a wise person. If you want a goal for your parenting, here it is. Raise wise kids. Don't raise optimized kids or iterated kids or dominant kids or kids that pick an identity that they think is great. Raise wise kids. Do that, right? Now, here's my assumption that I'm working with and that the book of Proverbs is working with. It's this, that everyone needs a framework for life and flourishing. Everybody has to have a trellis. You read the book of Proverbs, and I think it does something that's maybe a little unfair. What the book of Proverbs does is it categorizes people and puts people into one of three categories. And I don't you hate it when you get categorized? Like, I'm not a category. Come on, I'm a human being. Please stop categorizing it. But I think this book is so valuable that anyone who's worked with people will agree with these categories. And you'll find yourself and other people you know inside these categories. I think they're really accurate. Here's the three categories. The Proverbs talks about the person who's wise, talks about the person who's a fool, and talks about the person who's evil. And that word gets sometimes translated in the book as wicked, so evil or wicked. So can I sketch these for you? Can I kind of give you a rundown so we know what we're talking about? Here's the wisdom trellis. These are lifted straight from the book of Proverbs. Most of these are in Proverbs chapter 8, but it's littered throughout the book of Proverbs. Things like this, right? Just imagine that this is a trellis that you built your life on. Knowledge, direction, hates arrogance, hates lies, so a person who loves the truth. There's counsel, there's sound judgment, there's insight, there's strength, there's leadership, there's justice, there's honor, there's prosperity, there's righteousness. Imagine if that were the trellis that you hung your life on. Everything grew up through the trellis of all of those things. Wouldn't you want to work with that person? Don't you want that person sitting next to you in a cube? Don't you want that person leading your company? You want someone like that, don't you? Yes? This is the point where you respond, right? Like, I don't know. I'm not sure. The word there is the Hebrew word. There's this principle in the scriptures that is helpful sometimes in interpreting what a word means. It's called the principle of first mention. So you find the first time in the scriptures that word is mentioned, and it helps to give a little bit of light and shed meaning on what the word wisdom means. If you wanted the first place the word wisdom appears in the scriptures, you'd go to Exodus chapter 28, verse 13, where God is giving his instructions about making the beautiful garments that the priests would wear. And the reference is take the people who have the skill, the wisdom, is the word translated there, to make beautiful garments. And here's what you were to take from that. A wise person is someone who knows how to make life beautiful. Don't you want that? In other words, wisdom is a vision of a human being alive and flourishing. And what wisdom does is wisdom opens the door to life. It's the trellis that good things grow on. In fact, Proverbs says that it's by wisdom that the Lord laid the earth's foundations. It's like God used the tool, wisdom. By understanding, he set the heavens in place. Did you notice what Claire said, chapter 4, verse 6 and 7? This is the counsel here. Don't forsake wisdom. She will protect you, so protection. Love her, she'll watch over you. Get wisdom. Though it costs you all you have, get understanding. It's like wisdom is the prize because it's the path forward. So that's wisdom. Then there's another trellis, though. This is the foolishness trellis. And these are lifted from all over the book of Proverbs. The fool's mentioned multiple times. Here's a fool. Complacent, gathers shame, brings grief to mama. Spreads slander, pleasure in selfish schemes, blurts out folly, detests changing themselves. They have a damaged heart, doesn't learn, stubborn, doesn't try to understand, hates knowledge. Imagine if this were the trellis of your life and everything grew up through all of these things and you hung all of the things in your life on this trellis. I got to be really honest with you. I don't want to work with that person. I don't want them sitting in the cubicle next to me. I don't want them leading my company. I don't want them to be one of my pastors. I don't want that person. You go to the principle of first mention, you'd go all the way back to Isaiah 35, where Isaiah talks about there's going to be this highway of holiness, and God wants everyone to walk there. And he says, and there won't be any fools there. He's not saying you can't be there. They're not allowed to be there. He's saying, well, because they're a fool, they don't want to be there. They're not interested in that. Foolishness is wisdom's opposite. Foolishness can't do what wisdom can do. So here's a proverb, one of my favorite proverbs, and because it's in the Bible, I'm going to tell you a story associated with it. Proverbs 26, verse 11. As a dog returns to its vomit, so fools repeat their folly. Memorize that and quote that to someone on Wednesday. I dare you. When I was in college, for just a very short period of time at my last year, the school was building a new set of dormitories, and they weren't quite ready by the beginning of the year, and so they asked young married couples who were part of the school or just a little bit older, if they had space for students to live. And so one of my closest friends was married, lived in town in a duplex, and they had an extra room. And so for about a month or two, first year, month or two of school, I lived in their upstairs room next to the bathroom. And they had a black lab, just one of the dumber black labs I've ever met, named Princess. And I remember one night the door was kind of propped open. I heard the door open, and you could, when you hear a dog come in, that. And all of a sudden, the illustration of this text came to life with noises coming from this beast here, this not very smart beast. And the first half of the illustration came true. And then I waited because I thought, it's dark. I don't know exactly where it is. I don't want to get up and step in that. And then the second half of this illustrative text came to life. I'm not going to make the noises for you. You can imagine, right? What I'm telling you this. One, there are kids in the room, and they're going to tell this. I can't believe Pastor Scott said that. And some of your parents are going to send me emails. But it's in the Bible, okay? So what's this saying about a fool? A fool is somebody who repeats their mistakes over and over. Did you know from that point on, I didn't necessarily want to be in the same room as Princess? I was kind of like, Here's the evil person, the wicked, the evil trellis. So, lifted straight from Proverbs. They have manipulative words, dark ways. They delight in doing wrong. Paths are crooked. They're devious. They want to make you stumble. They stir up conflict. They plot. They don't have any mercy. They don't carry with them any sense of future hope. You know people like this, don't you? Now imagine that's your trellis. And you hang all the things of your life on that trellis. It's not that you don't want that person in the cubicle next to you. You don't even want to associate with that person, do you? Here's how Proverbs describes that person. Don't set foot on the path of the wicked or walk in the way of evildoers. Avoid it. Don't travel on it. Turn from it. Go on your own way. They can't rest until they do evil. Do you know people like this? They're robbed of sleep till they make someone stumble. They eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. If you go back to the principle of first mention, you would go all the way back to Genesis chapter 2, verse 17, where there's the tree of good and evil. And it's the antithesis. Evil is the anti-life principle. Evil is the black hole that humanity gets sucked into and no life or light escapes. So you could take those three charts and you could lay them out, and this would be a good question for you to ask which trellis you want to build your life on. Which is it? I mean, it seems obvious, doesn't it? Henry Cloud, psychologist, Christian author, written multiple best-selling books, he talks about this, and he says that this, actually, the wise, the fool, and the evil person, what they're doing is they're responding to two primary things. Number one, the light. So when the light comes on and they see things. And then the truth, when they're faced with reality and the way things are. Here's what he says. He says, we make a mistake sometimes, and we think what Proverbs is writing about, the wise person is the smart person. And the fool is the dumb person. The wicked person is the wicked person. He said, but that's not actually the case. Because you can be incredibly smart, intelligent, quick, and be a fool. It's totally possible. So here's the response. Let me give you, I love a good chart. If you've been around, you know I love a good chart. There's 3 versions of this. Wait till the end. You snap this, put this on your phone, refer to it. Here's the wise person. Here's what happens when the light comes. You know what they do? They learn and they grow. And they're humble. And then when the truth comes, you know what they do with the truth? They take it and they look at it and then they apply it. And here, this is the key. They change themselves to align with what's true. So they learn and they change. And when you talk to a wise person, they're actually enjoyable to talk to because you can talk to them and they're open, they're curious, they don't think they know everything. There's a humility to them. They're attractive. They're not resistant at every point. Here's what happens to the fool. When the light comes, the fool doesn't want to learn, and so they don't grow. In fact, what they do is they repeat the same year 10 times over. It's just like because that's what a fool does, is they take information, something happens that's negative and they don't learn from it. That's the essence of a fool. And they're too dug in and proud to change. And when the truth comes, they try, instead of changing themselves, they try to change reality. Do you know anybody like this? Like, don't elbow anybody. I'm talking about you. And they don't pay attention to anything long enough to actually apply it. So they don't learn, they don't change, and they may hurt you. It's hard to talk to a fool. They're resistant. You ever talk to a smart fool, like they're the smartest person in the room, and yet they're a fool? It's like, isn't that the worst? Now, they may do that for shame reasons, fear reasons, pain reasons. We'll talk about that in a second. Here's the evil person. When the light comes, what they do is they use your mistakes against you. They plot. They appear humble. You think that they're humble the way they present themselves because they want you to like them. They want to win you in, but they're doing that in order to manipulate you. And when the truth comes, they apply leverage. They apply what's happening as leverage to win. To them, the truth is a game. And they manipulate the truth, and they intend to hurt you. You almost can't have a relationship with an evil person. To use and abuse is their muse. Now, let me just say something to you. If you grew up with someone, and maybe some of you are listening to this list, and you're like, that was my mom. If you were under the influence of a wicked person via some form of abuse, you know what it can do to you? It can make you a fool out of pain and fear. Now, why am I giving you this little lesson on wisdom, foolishness, and wickedness? Why am I doing that? Well, one of the potent appeals of Jesus' way of going about life is that you become a wise person. So what a person who follows Jesus does is they avoid the hurt and pain that come from foolishness and wickedness. Not because they are innately wise. That's not why. It's not like Jesus picked the wise people and pushed the fools and the wicked people aside. No, that's not it at all. The Christian is a person who recognizes they have been freed and forgiven from their foolishness and their wickedness, and that's why they follow Jesus. So they get on the path of wisdom. So why do you need Jesus? Think about this with me for a second. Jesus is the only person who suffered at the hands of fools and wicked people and redeemed the whole thing. How do you know that, Scott? The cross. Nobody in ancient Rome walked around with a cross around their neck. Like, check out my cross, y'all. I got a tat. They didn't do that. You know why? It was the symbol of evil and destruction. Nobody would have done that. And why? How do we know that Jesus redeemed it? Well, now, look at the number of people who have a cross around their neck, tattooed on their arm, or up on their wall. The symbol of evil has now become a symbol of hope. Why? Because Jesus redeemed it. He's the one who redeems fools and wicked people. Listen, if you are listening to this list and you're having a moment of awareness that you are operating with a trellis that is foolish or wicked, the cross is the sign that you are not rejected by God, even if you are a fool or wicked. There is hope for you. Jesus is the guide out of foolishness and evil. Now watch what the Apostle Paul says about Jesus in Colossians chapter 2. He says, my goal is that you could be encouraged in your heart and united in love so that you could have the full riches of complete understanding in order that you may know the mystery of God, namely Christ, in whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. Here's what Jesus said to people over and over again. Hey, follow me. And when you began to follow Jesus, or when you begin to follow Jesus, you become a disciple. The root word of that in the original language simply means a learner. Well, what do you know about someone who is a learner? I'll tell you what a learner does. When the light comes to a learner, you know what they do? They learn and they grow. They're humble because they know the gospel. They know what they've been rescued from. When the truth comes, it's made plain to them. When their eyes are open and they see reality, then they apply it and they change themselves to align with truth. A learner is continually on the path of transformation. That's one of the reasons it's worth following Jesus, because he gives you the wisdom trellis. I really think who you get your framework from matters. Really matters. I just would suggest to you, make sure that they're wise. I don't know. Make sure there's someone in whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. Okay, let's apply this, okay? I gave you this for a reason. One, I wanted you to see you need a trellis like this. But that last verse, Proverbs 11:30, the fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and the one who wins souls is wise. I wonder if all of us who have been around church and been around the Bible for a long time, and we've heard this before. Yeah, I know wisdom. I know full evil. Yeah, I got it. Jesus, cross, got it. I wonder if we could sit with that for a second. And we could ask the question, okay, so if the person who wins souls is wise, by my actions, am I then wise? If wisdom is a better way, let me ask you a question. Isn't it wise to want other people to be wise? Wouldn't that be wise? Here is a trellis that has made my life better. I think it will also make your life better. The wise person is an influencer. Everyone in our day is influencing everyone else. We do it all the time. And I think what Christians need to do is we need to be honest about the fact that, yes, indeed, we want to convert people. There's just no question. If someone's like, well, are you trying to convert me? You know what you need to say? Yeah, I am. Yep. I'm trying to convert you right now. That's what why I didn't come up here to give you nice information. I came up here to try and convert you to a different way. And we're doing it all the time. Andrew Huberman is trying to convert you. Jordan Peterson is trying to convert you. Joe Rogan is trying to convert you. The person who tries to sell you something is trying to convert you. The teacher is trying to do you understand this? Everyone's saying, here's the way. Walk in it. So as Christians, wouldn't it be great if we just were honest and we're like, well, yeah, I want to convert people 100%. But here's the question. The question is whether or not your framework brings healing and forgiveness to you. The question is whether or not your framework turns you into a person of love and hope. And the question is whether or not the framework then sends you to serve the world. Here's what I know about Christianity, is that God became flesh. We celebrated at Christmas. It's coming up. Jesus came as a baby into the world, the incarnation, put on flesh and blood, moved into the neighborhood. Do you know what that says? It says that God baptizes the human dignity of every person that you know. Every person that you know is made in the image of God. Not just the person who drives a nice car and smells good, who looks good, who sounds good, who talks good. The person that you don't like, who smells bad and is weird. They're also made in the image of God. There is not a person who is up here and another person who is down here. No. Everybody is on the same footing with the same amount of dignity put in them because they're made in the image of God. What other system tells you that? And then you got the cross. The cross, the heart of Christianity. You know what the heart of Christianity is? It is a man dying for his enemies. It is awfully hard to be self-righteous and put yourself first when your example is a man who dies for his enemies. See, when you see that, you go, oh, I am put here to serve other people. That's why I'm here. It turns you into a person of love and hope and brings healing and forgiveness to your soul. That's why I'm like, yes, we want to convert people to that. I'm game. So I want to give you, just in the last couple of minutes we're here together, I want to give you just a little simple framework for how we bring people to Jesus. What do we need to do? And I've got just some simple things. If you want to take notes, write them down. We're going to talk about it more next week when we talk about joy. Here they are. Ready? Real practical. There is no need to be weird. We talk about this often as a staff, and Larry Page will always say, no one's giving out prizes for weirdness. And you don't need to be weird. You don't need to be awkward. You don't need to create a weird moment for everybody. I follow this guy on, I won't say his name, but he's a professor at an Ivy League school. He's a Christian, brilliant man. He's a biologist, brilliant man. He lectures, talks about faith and how science merges with faith. And I was watching something, and he was getting to the end of one of his talks, and it panned to all the students who are in the lecture lab where he's giving the lecture. You know, these are Ivy League students. And he's lecturing, and he gets down to the end, and he's like, I want you to receive Jesus. You know, I'm like, I'm with him, convert people, 100%. And then he gets down on his knees and kneels and bows his and he says, let's pray. And you can kind of see the looks on the kids' faces. They're like, what is that? I was like, why are you being weird, dude? You don't need to be weird. No need to be weird. Just turn to your neighbor and say, you don't have to be weird. You don't have to be weird. Here's the second thing. How do we bring people to Jesus? Share our faith. It's very simple. It's one word. It's just one word. Listen. Everybody has a story. Everybody's got a place where they're hurting. Everybody's got a place where they're struggling. What if you were the kind of person who you just listen to people? Do you know how powerful it is when you listen to people? Do you know how people open when you genuinely zero in on what they're saying without an agenda and you listen? That would change it. Where's the hurt? Oh, I hurt with you. Third thing, you have to bring them to Jesus and not just to church. Listen, I want you to bring them here. We tell you that all the time. We invite people, invite someone to the marriage conference. What a great way to invite them into the life of our church. I mean, I hope every married couple takes what a great tool, right? The reason we do this on Sundays, the reason I do my messages the way that I do, that we structure the service, is so that when you invite a friend, they go, oh, those are normal people who speak my language, but there's something more. That's why we're doing this. We're doing it this way. And we want to create an atmosphere where you walk through the door, you feel welcome and wanted. The people of God should be the one place that you walk through the door and you're like, no one's here to hurt me. No one's here to abuse me. No one's here to take advantage of me. I'm welcome and wanted. What is that? Tell me more. This is a tool. But by all means, please bring them to church. We want them here. But you and I can't hand that off to the church and go, well, I don't know how to do. I don't know what the gospel is. We got to figure that one out. And we got to say, I want to bring people to Jesus, not just to the church. Number 4 is you got to be good news. You got to be good news. I say this often. Be the kind of person who, when you walk in the room, you're good news. When you walk in, they're like, oh, I'm glad he's here. Woo, she came in. We're going to make it. Be good news. Here's what Hebrews 13:16. Don't forget to do good and share with others, for with such sacrifices God is pleased. The power of your goodness to people will win people over. Do you see what I'm saying? You live like this as a good person. You're on the path of transformation. You're learning. You're humble. You're growing. That's incredibly attractive because this doesn't exist anywhere else. And then last, whoops, there we go. I made that, and there we go. I don't want it to break. Last one, ask for wisdom and share your story. Ask for wisdom and share your story. It's really hard to argue with your story. Because why? It's just your story. Do you know your story of how you came to know the love of God? Could you condense that down to a couple of paragraphs so you could easily tell, here's my story, here's how I came to know who Jesus is, and this is what Jesus means to me, this is how my life's been changed. Ask for wisdom. James says it in James chapter 1, verse 5. If any of you lacks wisdom, ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it'll be given to you. God, I don't know what to say right now. I need insight. I need understanding. Please help me. I'm going to bring it up to you again and again. A couple weeks ago, we talked about listening to the Holy Spirit. If there's an action that you need to take, then do it. If there's a person that comes to mind, then reach out to them. If there's someone who needs help, you help them. Just do that. There you go. Just do that. I think it'd be beautiful, and this is a goal for me too, that a year from now, everybody in this room has had the joy of bringing somebody to Jesus. Wouldn't that be beautiful? You loved somebody and you listened to them. You were a genuine friend. You weren't trying to manipulate them, or you just like, I just want you to know. I know a lot of you work in business and it's a little weird, or in education, and it's like, I gotta be careful. I get all that. I'm not trying to tell you to be weird. Again, no need to be weird. But probably all of us who work, all of you who work in business and education and places where you got to be careful, and please do be careful. I'm not trying to tell you to go get fired. But you want to please your earthly boss, you want to do everything that your earthly boss requires. There's kind of a paradigm shift, though. What if we did that and we did our work really, really well as a testimony? We did our work with wisdom, with insight, with understanding, care for other people. What if we did what our earthly boss required, but could we shift it and make sure we also do what Earth's boss requires? I'm here to win. I'm here as an influencer. I'm here for the sake of hope. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to pause. I'm going to be quiet here in just a second. Sean's going to play. Just let everybody kind of have a moment. And I want you to think about 3 people in your world. I already have my 3. Their names. And I want you to, if you have a place on your phone, you can take a note on your phone, and I want you to write down those 3 people's names. They're just people you're like, I don't know if they know the love of God. I don't know where their spiritual journey, where they are. Maybe you do know they're not a follower of Jesus. They're not a disciple. But I want you to write down 3 names. And I just want to keep this in front of you. And I've got my 3 names. And we're going to keep this in front of you and just say, are you praying for those three people? And what that does is it gives you a framework. You can go, is there an action I need to take to move toward those 3 people? When they come to mind, could I reach out to them and just send them a note? I was thinking about you today. Just wanted to encourage you. Do they need help in some way? Hey, I noticed that you need help on that. I wanted to help you with. It becomes a way for you to listen to the Holy Spirit in terms of their life. We're going to talk next week about joy. We're going to talk about the joy of the gospel, knowing what the gospel is and how to share it in a joyful way. We'll talk about that next week. But I want us to pray for those people. So I'm going to pray right now. Just give you 15 or 20 seconds of silence after that to just think about those folks. And then we'll pray for our team that's going to Guatemala in just a second, and then we'll dismiss. Pray with me. God, thank you for your wisdom of coming into the world as a baby, humbly, vulnerably. Thank you that in doing that, you dignified our existence. You crowned us with glory and honor, I know your word says. You made us a little lower than the angels. You put worth and value into each of us. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus, for the way that you